Another important type of input is the range. We've created the label for the range, and now let's create the input, type equal range, give it an ID, and now let's add a couple other properties. Two very important properties for the range are the minimum value, which we will set to 1, and the maximum value, which in this case we'll set to 10. As is, the range is implemented fairly simply in the browser. Let's put a line break so that we have this on a new line, and save this and bring up Chrome and take a look at what the range looks like. And you can see it's a fairly simple range, and it does not show you the starting and ending value, for example. That's pretty easily fixed in the CSS. Let's do just a little bit of CSS to see that. The first thing that I want to do is to indicate my input type, and then I'm going to use the new CSS3 after. That takes 2 colons, and tell it that the content that I want set is the attribute maximum. Similarly, I'll copy and paste that, and we'll do before, so at the very beginning of the range, and there we can put the minimum. Now we need to tell it what a range should look like. And we'll set the width equal to 250 pixels and the color equal to blue. That'll be the color for the text, of course. And the font family to Sego UI, my favorite. And let's set the font size to small. With that saved, and with our range in place, and everything saved, let's go back to Chrome and update the page. And now you can see that we have the 1 and the 10 indicating the values of the start and finish value. And we could do considerably more to pretty this up, but we want to stay focused on the HTML5 side, not the CSS3. HTML5 also introduces the search input type, and this is a good place to show the placeholder property. The placeholder property creates what's called a watermark. So we can put a prompt into the placeholder, and that will appear in the text block until the user types something in. To see that at work, let's save the file and return to Chrome and update the page. And you can see that our prompt appears inside the search text box. As soon as we put the cursor in and begin to type, the prompt disappears. If, however, we were to delete our search, then the prompt reappears. Continuing with our input types, let's add an input for type telephone. And you can see that's just TEL. Let's also make this field required, and we do that just by adding the required property. Now we won't be able to tell that it's required if we don't have a submit button, so we'll add an input type equals submit, and we will set the value on that to what we want to have displayed. which is submit. Let's run that in Chrome. Now you notice that we can enter any number of other fields, but if we don't enter a telephone number, we want it to alert us. And that's built in. Each browser will let you know that it's a required field in its own way. You can see what Chrome does. Let's see what Opera does. When I click Submit, Opera puts me into the telephone field and won't submit the form. Internet Explorer, when I click Submit, shows that it's a required field and highlights it in red. So each browser is free to handle this however it chooses. Note that the telephone requirement only requires that something be entered. Because telephone numbers can be so different in different countries, there's no validation for a specific kind of telephone number. The email input type is very similar. However, this time we're going to add not only the required property, but also multiple. Multiple says that this email input will take more than one email address. Let's see that by looking at it in Chrome. Update the page. Chrome comes up. If we put in a phone number, but not an email, then it tells us we do need to add an email. Interestingly, email, it understands at least the basics of what an email address looks like. So if I just say foo and click submit, it says please enter a comma-separated list of email addresses. And if I say foo@bar.com, it's going to be happy with that. However, I can say foo@bar.com, comma, bar@foo.com, and submit that. And that will submit 2 email addresses.